Every senior person knows that they don't get the truth. I mean, even if your people are wonderful and fantastic, people want to tell you the right answer, not because they're trying to lie to you, but they want to please you. Like you knew the more senior you got, it was harder and harder to get the truth. And every senior leader knows that it's hard to get the truth. Every great senior leader also has spies. Somebody that maybe you were friends with that people don't know you're friends with, or you came up through the ranks of the organization together, but your career went a little further, a little quicker. You know, that you have these trusted relationships that you can just get a little inside scoop as to what's really going on. Also, this is the hardest one, or at least it's a hard one, learning to replace judgment with curiosity. So somebody comes to you and says, that person is a problem. And all of a sudden we create a narrative based on the story that they tell us that they are a problem. That person's stupid, that person's lazy, whatever it is. Now they're labeled as lazy. Now we treat them as lazy. Now everything that they do or don't do is because they're lazy, right? But as a good leader, we can take those reports, we can take that hearsay, we can take those direct stories that people have, and we can say, thank you, I appreciate that. I'll look into it. I'm going to find out more. And you go on a little journey to discover what's really happening. It absolutely may be that they're lazy. That could 100% be it. Or maybe they're distracted for a reason, or maybe they're having trouble at home, or maybe we've given them a job that they're ill-qualified for, or maybe they're having a personality conflict with somebody that they work with. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. And the good leader is finding that out. And by the way, by leader, I don't mean the senior person. I mean any person in the organization. To replace that judgment with curiosity. And I think that's what creates those environments. But the reality is with rank, you do set the tone. So, for example, no lying. That seems like a pretty simple one inside a company. We don't tell lies, okay? Phone rings, your assistant picks up, they put the person on hold and they call out to you, David's on the phone, and you go, tell him I'm not here. You've just sanctioned a lie. You've just sanctioned a lie, right? And that little lie then, now that person who was told to lie, approvingly, now they can tell a lie, right? Because it came from the boss. And all of a sudden, you find out you have an organization that tells lies all over the place, and some of those lies grow. It happened to me once where I had a very, very senior phone call with the top leaders of a really big organization, and I forgot. I just didn't show up on the call. I have no excuse. I forgot to check my calendar and I forgot. And my assistant at the time, of course, wanted to protect my reputation. And she wrote to them and said, terribly sorry, Simon had another meeting that ran long. And I took her aside, and it was the hardest feedback I had to give because she did it with such good intention. I said, I'm so grateful that you're protecting me and you're protecting my reputation. And I want you to do that, but you have to do that without lying. We cannot lie. You can say, I'm sorry he's late, I'm sorry he missed the call, but you cannot say it's because he was in another meeting, because that's not true. And so it's this, I'll challenge you, you try this, right? Let's look at the time right now, right? It's noon, okay? It's noon on, I don't even know what day it is, Monday, right? You and your entire crew, here's the challenge for all of you, okay? You may not tell a single lie for the next 48 hours. I mean, nothing. And you'll be amazed how difficult it is. You'll be amazed how many little white lies we tell. Like the waiter comes over and 5 minutes before you're saying, oh, this food is so salty. And the waiter comes and goes, how's everything? You go, it's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, thank you. It's fine. That is a lie, right? Now, you don't have to be mean. There's nothing that says truth has to be brutal. It just has to be true. Try for the next 48 hours and see how hard it is not to tell a single lie.
Everyone's going to be walking around asking each other what they think of each other.
Now,
Simon said you got to be honest.
Right, but there's ways of doing it, right? Like, so, do these jeans make me look fat? I like the other jeans much better. They're way more flattering, right? You don't have to hurt people. Also, timing, right? So, a true story. So I went to see a friend's play, and I could not wait for this thing to end. It was so bad. And I went out, to say hi to her after the performance, and she came out. She was still in costume and makeup, and she knows I'm an honest broker. She cares about she knows I'll always tell her the truth in these kinds of things, and she says to me, "What did you think?" Now is not the time and place. She's pumped up full of adrenaline, and now is not the time for me to give her a critical evaluation of this god-awful performance. And so I sidestepped the question, but said something true. I said, it was such a treat to be here, to see you do your thing. I've been wanting to see you on a stage forever, and it was so much fun to see you on the stage. All of that was true. The next day, when the adrenaline had come down, and I called her up and said, "Can I tell you what I thought about the play?" She goes, "Yeah, of course." And I told her critically, piece by piece, what I thought about it and how bad it was. And we had a perfectly rational conversation about it. Didn't hurt her feelings. The day before, I would have really hurt her feelings. So not everything has to be, we mistake being honest with being honest now. No, I can't lie, and I have to answer the question, but I can answer it tomorrow when the conditions are better for that message to be received.
What is so insidious, or what is so harmful? What is the long-term negative impact of creating that culture of lying within teams and within ourselves?
Well, there's this psychological phenomenon, I guess, called ethical fading, which can grip an organization's culture, where people within that culture become capable of making highly, highly unethical decisions, believing they were well within their own ethical frameworks, right? So extreme examples are things like pharmaceutical companies who have a patent on an essential drug, and in order to meet or beat some financial projection, they raise the price of that essential drug 100%, 500%, 1,000%, 1,500%. Totally legal. There's nothing illegal about that. Really unethical, right? And in organizations that suffer ethical fading, it almost always, if not always, starts from the top. It's usually a leadership problem. It comes from excessive amounts of pressure to hit certain short-term goals to the point where doing it ethically becomes more and more difficult. And so what creates ethical fading is a series of things. One of those things is we rationalize, right? We look for ways to distance ourselves from the impact of our decisions. We say things like, it's what you got to do to get ahead. It's what my boss wants. Everyone's doing it. It's the system. I don't have a choice, right? And there are ways we can disassociate our responsibility, right? So rationalizing is a big part of it. Another part is the old slippery slope. You did it once, you did it a little bit, it worked. We raised the price 10%, nobody even noticed. Great, do it again, do 20% this time. Try 100%. And it just keeps going and going and going and going before you have full-blown ethical fading. And some of the things are excessive use of euphemisms. Again, we're using language to disassociate ourselves from the impact of our decisions. So for example, we in the United States would never torture, but enhanced interrogation, that sounds very appealing, right? Or companies would never spy on their customers, but data mining, yeah, no, we're really into that, right? We're just using different language to mask the insidiousness of our real decisions. Like everybody talks about managing externalities, but we don't talk about the damage we're doing to the people and cultures, environments of the places where our offices and factories are located. Why don't you have that conversation? And so when you have enough of those things, ethical fading shows up where you now have real issues. And in the extreme, you have massive scandals. Sometimes it leads to illegal activity, but usually it's just unethical scandals. And when those things happen, management is dragged out and they talk to the newspaper or to the law. And they always say the same thing, which is we broke no laws. Everything we do is legal. No, we don't have an issue with the law. We have an issue with your ethics. But when it's not full blown, it just becomes an incredibly uncomfortable and a horrible place to work. That increases stress to the point where you'll do damage to your own health and you'll do damage to the way you treat your family. Because when you're under that kind of stress to violate your own ethics at work, you're going to come home and you're going to take it out on your spouse and your kids. You're going to kick the dog. You're not going to be motivated to do much except sit on the couch and watch TV. So it has some pretty insidious impact in the lives of human beings.
I was thinking of it as well in terms of romantic relationships. One little white lie becomes another little white lie, and then a couple of, a year passes and you're so unaligned and so far from your truth that
Yeah.
you're resentful that you're having to keep up with this set of lies. I mean, I've talked about it with a guest on this podcast before. One of the mistakes I made in my relationship at the start was I would say yes to things that I didn't like doing.
Yeah.
So I created this culture and this like expectation where my partner thought I loved doing X activity at 6 a.m. in the morning because I'd always said yes and I'd always pretended to like it. Now I have to live out that life of something I do not enjoy doing because I lied at the start. And the journey back is not always so easy when you've persisted.
I've made the same mistake on the other side, which is after I broke up with someone when we maintained a friendship and I started dating somebody, or at least started dating, but I didn't want to hurt the feelings of this person that I still care about that we broke up, a couple months before. And so I would avoid the conversation, but if she said, "Are you dating anybody?" I'd say, "No, not really." And it's not because I wanted to lie, it's because I don't want to hurt her. Like the intention, of course, is positive. But what I learned later is all of those little lies meant that she was holding out hope that wasn't there. And by the way, it's been done to me as well. I'm holding out hope that's not there because someone didn't want to hurt my feelings. And I would rather just have the uncomfortable conversation. "Are you dating somebody?" "You are." "Okay, well that hurts, but I can heal. I can move on."